and welcome to the semi-finals of Grand Prix Vienna 2014. Just 3 matches remain to be played, and then we will be knowing who's going to walk away with the trophy, who's going to walk away with $4,000, and who's going to be walking away with 8 Pro Tour points. Now that's a lot at stake here in these few final matches. Now as you can see, 4 players remain. These 4 players are Anjol Alcaraz up against Alexa Telarov. On the left of your screen, in the front, and then in the back we have Jeremy Dezani from France up against Robert Jurkovic from Slovakia. So a great semi-final we have there, and that is actually the match we are going to start with. Now I'm joined by Simon Gerson, Pro Tour winner Simon Gerson. Who's your favorite? You've been watching both these players play.
I have to say it's Jeremy Dezani, #1 ranked player in the world, recent Pro Tour champion, and just on an absolute tear.
Yeah, he's certainly been winning quite a lot lately. Up against Robert Jurkovic, he's no slouch either. He's been winning a lot as well. Lately, it's not been going very well for him. Actually had to skip Pro Tour Valencia due to circumstances, but now he's back on the Pro Tour. He qualifies with this top 8, and he starts the game with an Agent of Horizons. A great play, matches up well against the Sylvan Caryatid from Jeremy Dezani.
Which does accelerate the green-black back, and that's quite potent as well. Oh wow. It looks like Jeremy, I wouldn't say he's nervous, but maybe he's just tired a little bit. Today we saw him make multiple plays where he was shaking his head or he wasn't fully into the game, but I think he has shrugged most of that off. Once he entered the top 8, he seemed a lot calmer, focused. He knew that this was his chance to maybe even guarantee Player of the Year.
Yeah, if he wins the GP, that's certainly a good way to go. 8 Pro Tour points, and I don't know exactly how many he has, but he certainly has quite a few already. And now Robert Jurkovic does play his 4th land. Are we going to see a follow-up? Maybe I do see a horizon canopy there, so that one will be flashed in at the end of the turn, I'm guessing.
59 pro points already for Jeremy Dezani without the points of this top 4 where he already is. Well, that's amazing.
That's more than my 8 points. How many do you have?
This season?
Yeah.
Not too many.
We're not even going to mention that.
I did play a Pro Tour.
Okay, you did.
All right, so no blocks on Ferris Bandtrumper. I think that Robert Djerkovic could have actually gone for a block here. It's not out of the question, but he wants the evasive power of Horizon Chimera. He also wanted to get in with Agent of Horizons rather than trading for Ferris Bandtrumper, which is going to turn into a 4-4. So Robert Djerkovic is going to be trying to be the player with the more tricky plays. We see Retraction Helix, for example. But Sylvan Caryatid, I think it's so powerful on turn 2 in this format, just to accelerate into larger creatures. And Jeremy Dezani did just that. Ferris Bandtrumper into Keepsake Organ.
Yeah, it's a Voyaging Satyr, but a little bit better. It also fixes your mana. It gives you a 3 toughness creature, which is obviously relevant because there are quite a bunch of 2 power creatures in the format.
Yeah, most 2-drops are 2 power.
Yeah. So here we go, a Ferris Bandtrumper of his own for Robert Jurkovic. Now, of course, the Ferris Bandtrumper does already get a +1/+1, the Jeremy one. Will draw a card. Is he going to draw another land to maybe go up to 6? He actually has already a 5th land, so he will have 6 mana available on his turn.
Yeah, the big question here is, of course, the Keepsake Gorgon is going to be monstrified at some point. Maybe Robert Djerkovic manages to respond to that and blow Jeremy out. Maybe it's the other way around, but to me the biggest question is, how does the sub-game of Ferris Bandtrumper develop? Ferris Bandtrumper was allowed to attack when Robert Jurkovic attacked with Agent of Horizon and declined the block with Horizon Chimera. Both understandable plays, but now, does he block Ferris Bandtrumper if it attacks again?
You think he would ever double block there? That's going to be very dangerous if you ask me.
Because of instant speed removal on Ferris Bandtrumper, for example. But most of the +2/+2 tricks would not be a complete blowout. Then again, it could be a Savage Surge. That untaps Ferris Bandtrumper, turning it into a 5/5 +2/+2, that's 7/7. Then you have a blowout scenario again. It's very easy to make up blowout scenarios in this format.
Yeah, and I feel like you're analyzing this situation very well. I feel like Robert Jurkovic just can't double block there. Just too dangerous. He can't even if he double block the Keepsake Gorgon, that's even worse because he's certainly losing his 2 creatures. And then if there's just a simple trick, but Jeremy Dezani doesn't attack with the Keepsake Gorgon, probably wanting it as a blocker.
It does hold off both creatures. So it's certainly quite valuable on defense here. Also a time defeat. This does not look like Robert Djerkovic's game. That is a very efficient way of dealing with an opposing creature, and you already have a keepsake organ in play. All right, another powerful follow-up.
Yeah, another powerful Fellhide Brawler there for Jeremy Dezani. Unfortunately, no Minotaur yet, so kind of the 2-2 that can block. Now a very quick game here, it seems, for Aniol Alcaraz. He's already up a game over Alexa Telarov. Now I guess that's what happens when you're the only white drafter at the table.
His deck is absolutely nuts. I was already surprised that Andreas Lesch was able to win a game against his deck, and when I saw his starting hand, Phalanx Leader, Battlewise Hoplite, Chosen by Heliod, Ordeal of Heliod Voyages, and that's like the best cards you can think of.
Yeah, it certainly is. Actually, I was talking to him after his win in the quarterfinals, and he had a Chosen by Heliod on one of his creatures, forgot to draw a card, but it didn't matter. His deck was strong enough to win without the card, so that just shows how powerful his deck is.
All right, this is the moment we've been waiting for. Prophet of Krufix does change the math here a little bit for Robert Djerkovic, but Jeremy Dezani is now threatening 7 mana, which equates the monstrous ability of Keepsake Gorgon. So now Robert, at some point he has to deal with the Ferris Band Trumper. He has been declining to block it the whole time. Now he might have the mana to do it. However, now there is an onboard trick in the form of the monstrous ability of Keepsake Gorgon. Do you like a double block now?
Yeah, I wouldn't be too surprised to see a double block, maybe hoping that Jeremy Dezani goes for the Keepsake Gorgon, and we know that that Robert Djerkovic is holding a Retraction Helix, so that would be a very strong play from Robert Djerkovic.
And is that a Triton Tactics as well?
It is indeed a Triton
But
Tactics as well.
He wasn't able to keep up 2 blue mana, otherwise that would have been absolutely great.
That would have been bonkers, as we say.
That's what we say?
That's what we say here.
Yeah, he did want to he did want to double block with 2 creatures with toughness 3 to actually force his opponent to do something. If you block with the Ferris Band Trumper and Agent of Horizons, it's very easy for Jeremy Dezani to just let damage resolve. So this is the block that you want to be doing here. Now, the fact that you can also Triton Tactics is really, really good, because it means that you have an alternative line of play if you need it. Yeah. However, with a single blue, I think it's just going to be Retraction Helix.
Yeah, and if Jeremy Dezani uses that Keepsake Gorgon, then he might be in for a world of pain, because that would leave him just with a Fellhide Brawler, and that one can't block, so he's gonna take a lot of damage if that's the case.
And don't forget that Robert Djerkovic's creatures effectively have Vigilance, thanks to a Prophet of Krufix, which Robert is smartly not putting into combat here. This is difficult for Jeremy, and he knows that he's getting blown out, basically. But he knew that when he was attacking, in a sense, he knew that if he now activates the Keepsake Gorgon, then something is going to happen. He knows that it's not going to be Robert Djerkovic puts 2 creatures into his graveyard and ends his turn, and Jeremy passes the turn. All right.
Yeah, he just can't risk losing to a trick there. He does indeed put the Ferris Band Trumper. If he would have used that Keepsake Gorgon, he would have just lost too much tempo there.
And he knew it. He knew that this was the only thing that made sense. And this is what you have to do in this format. You have to always gather information from the way your opponent is playing. And then you can actually, even if you don't know exactly what kind of tricks your opponent has, like in this scenario, Retraction Helix would have been a complete blowout already. Voyage's End would have been a blowout. And for Jeremy, it was clear that it had to be one of the cards that would make it really, really bad for him to actually activate Keepsake Gorgon.
Now that's a great follow-up for Jeremy Dezani. Erebos is an emissary, followed up by a Marshmallow Titan, as I like to call it. So a 4/5 and a 3/3 for Jeremy Dezani. Now, of course, he's empty-handed, so he's got no tricks up his sleeve. He will have to be very careful for the following turns, because Robert Djerkovic is still holding that nice combo of Retraction Helix and Triton Tactics, and actually draws Feral Invocation as I see it, so that's another nice trick.
Now his mana is actually, he can use his mana perfectly, casting all of these spells if he wants to. Now he's also threatening flash creatures, because all of his creatures have flash from Prophet of Krufix. However, I like Jeremy Dezani's line here. The The fact that he added a 3-3 and a 4-5 to the board is absolutely huge. It means that now his defenses aren't as endangered as they would have been. Robert Djerkovic makes the right play here because tapping his creature and tapping 3 mana is free for him thanks to the profit. I also do like the attack with the Ferris Band Trumper. You have to get this game, you have to continue playing the game, and just sitting there when your opponent has a Prophet of Crufix active is not going to help you.
And now Jeremy Dezani gets in with the Emissary and the Titan, 4-5 and 3-3 attacking. Of course, that Emissary could grow to a 5-5 if if Jeremy has drawn a creature. Now, do you see any favorable blocks here? This is hard. Blocks for Robert Jurkovic?
Not this one. So Robert is just fine casting his tricks here. He's just making a 4-5, a 5-5 to block the 4-5, which is of course a favorable block. He knows that he doesn't have to fear anything with the cards that he's holding. He has so much backup that nothing is going to happen to him. And it's almost like he's taunting Jeremy. He's saying, I see you have a Keepsake Gorgon. I see you have 7 mana. Look at my place. What are you going to do about it? And Jeremy is in this spot. He knows he's being played, but he cannot do anything about it.
Yeah, we'll certainly see what's happening next. I don't think Jeremy Dezani can. Yeah, he goes for it, and now we're going to see a huge blowout. Here we see Retraction. He look actually surprised that he doesn't use it on the Ferris Band Trumper, because it would have given a +1/+1 counter onto his Ferris Band Trumper. Is he now going to use the Triton Tax? He's not going to use it. So a very strange play by Robert Jurkovic. I would have certainly used that on the Ferris Band Trumper, but now he still can attack for quite a bunch of damage.
I think Robert is fine holding the Triton Tactics here. It does protect his creatures. It does mean that he can just make blocks more effectively. I agree that he missed a +1/+1 counter here. It could have easily targeted Ferris Band Trumper with Retraction Helix clearly.
Yeah, but Jeremy Dezani already down to 4 life, and that +1/+1 counter might be crucial actually, because if Jeremy would have been at 3, he could have Robert could have given his Agent of Horizons unblock, but he just scoops them up. Didn't he have enough blockers? Yes, I believe he had enough blockers, so I'm a bit surprised by the scoop as well. But first game goes to Robert Jurkovic. Let's not forget, in this first semi-finals, Robert Jurkovic up a game against Jeremy Dezani. Good job by Robert. In the other match, it seems like Aniel Alcaraz is up a game against Alexa Telerov, so that one is gonna continue as well, as we will see how the players are gonna sideboard. There we have a view at the feature match area. It seems like everyone is watching that match. Quite a lot of viewers, spectators there. The game between Alcaraz is still in game 2, it seems. We do not have a result from that. Now, after seeing that first game from Robert Jurkovic, I must say that I like his deck a little bit more in this matchup.
Yes. The draft decks I've seen this weekend, those that have impressed me the most have been by Eastern European players. I don't know if it's part of the preparation or just their style of playing, but so many nice blue-green deck, a little bit off the beaten path, not only like red aggressive or blue-back control, but really sweet decks with a lot of tricky plays available to them. And Robert Jurkovic demonstrated that. We also saw Stanislav Sivka build some beautiful decks.
He certainly did prove that, and as I will take a little break before the finals is starting, I'm gonna let you talk with Frank Carson as you will be analyzing the second game of Jeremy Dezani against Robert Jurkovic.
Indeed. Well, while this was a great game, showcasing some nice interactions with Retraction Helix against the Keepsake Gorgon.
Best blue common?
In Born of the Gods, yes, I believe so. I've been looking at the matchup between Aniol Alcaraz with his white-blue deck against Alexa Telerov with his red-white deck. The first game was not very close. Alexa drew 2 lands and then didn't draw his 3rd land. He had to discard twice even, while Aniol was adding white creature after white creature to the board. once Alexa drew his third land, it was already too late. So Aniol took the first game over there. In the second game, which is currently going on, it looked to be a lot closer. Both players had lands, they were using creatures, combat tricks into interesting situations, so that one could go either way. But here we have Jeremy Dezani getting his second game against Robert Jurkovic. And the first creature on the board is one for Jeremy, a Fellhide Brawler.
Sometimes you do need the 2-drops, and then Fellhide Brawler does the job just fine. I'm not a fan of the cards. I've seen it in play a lot over the weekend. That's just because 2-drops are at a premium in this format.
Yeah, and Jeremy also realized that during the draft. He took the Fellhide Brawler quite highly in the Born of the Gods booster, because he must also be realizing that this is a format ruled by tempo plays. You cannot really afford to stumble and get behind, and having a solid mana curve with early drops is a key to victory. Even if Fellhide Brawler is not the best one, it still works.
Yeah. And every creature is a target for your bestow effects and auras and combat tricks. So you never want to be standing there without a creature.
So here we see the Nyxborn Wolf trading against Sedge Scorpion, and the biggest creature on the board currently is Agent of Horizons for Robert. Not anymore. First Band Trumper, a 3/3, and once it untaps it will get additional +1/+1 counters.
Yep.
Does
And
Robert have a good way to answer it?
the Band Trumper was one of the key cards in game 1 next to Keepsake Gorgon. And it was really interesting at which point Robert Djerkovic was feeling confident enough to actually block it. You have to be aware that there's a lot of tricks that just blow you out, Savage Search for example. But at some point you will have to block it, because otherwise it just grows and kills you. So this was, to me, the most interesting part of the game, with Robert declining the block multiple turns until he had a safe double block with Retraction Helix backup.
So Robert just passes the turn, doesn't play anything, also doesn't attack, even though it looks like he has Nylea's Emissary in hand, so he had a possible play on this turn, but he is keeping his agent back because he has tricks, right? I think there's Feral Invocation,
Feral
in the
Invocation
wait.
and Retraction Helix. So the double backup.
Yeah.
If Jeremy Dezani, for example, tries an Asphyxiate before combat, Retraction Helix is incredible. There aren't many instances that blow him out here, because he also has the bounce of Retraction Helix available. Now Jeremy Dezani will have to have something here. Pharika's Cure is being tried, and that's actually very good for Jeremy Dezani, because it's an instant speed damage spell. Now Robert doesn't have a great way to... I think he's always getting a 2-for-1 here, no matter what he does.
Yeah, Robert can target his Agent of Horizons with Retraction Helix, and then possibly bounce his Agent of Horizons in response to the Pharika's Cure, but then he will still lose the Feral Invocation, and indeed Jeremy will trade his Pharika's Cure for the Feral Invocation and the Retraction Helix, and a lot of mana on Robert's side actually, because he has to replay the Agent.
A big tempo loss.
Absolutely.
It might have been better for Robert, if he wanted to block, to just put Fate Foretold on his agent and block with it, accepting the trade, and only if Jeremy goes for a trick, then use the Retraction Helix.
Yep.
I think he wanted too much this combat.
That is always the risk when you go for these combat tricks. Of course, if Jeremy had a Savage Surge rather than a Pharika's Cure, then Robert would have come out ahead. Then Robert would have just bounced the Ferris Band Trumpers in response.
I just think he would have been fine with the other line in that scenario as well. So the Fate Foretold line, I think, would have left him pretty much with no scenario that blows him out, and a lot more scenarios where he's fine with everything that happens.
Sure. Jeremy goes to search his deck for planes here. He is splashing Hopeful Eidolon in his deck, so that's what he gets access to right now. And here, yeah, Robert has a bunch of cards in hand, but will he have enough time to play all of them? Nylea's Emissary comes down, just a 3-3 trample. In the meantime, on the other side of the bracket, Alexa Telerov has evened up the match at 1-1 against Aniol Alcaraz. Fanatic of Mogis for the final points for Telerov to equalize the match over there.
So 1-1 there, and in our match, Jeremy Dezani is still looking for a game win. Now a 4-5 Marsh Mist Titan is a good start. Holding off Nalia's Emissary, no, it did hold off Nalia's Emissary, but now it is a 5-6 thanks to Nixborn Triton.
Mm-hmm. And with both players still at a high life total and not a lot of creatures on the board, it does matter a lot when, well, your creature is the biggest, but what's even more important is when your creature has evasion. Intimidate, the Cavern Lampad on the Marsh Mist Titan gives Jeremy a 6 power creature with Intimidate. Robert does not have any black creatures to block, so that may win the game for Jeremy in two quick attacks.
And one thing that was crucial here was the fact that Robert Jurkovic was behind in the damage race before they started building large monsters. So Robert couldn't even enter a damage race, even though he built the largest creature. And Jeremy is in the opposite position. He can just suit up his Marsh Mist Titan here and threaten to win in 2 turns.
Ferris Band Trumper coming down for Robert. Doesn't really help against that huge 6 power intimidating Marsh Mist Titan. It's attacking here. Robert goes down to 2 life. Dezani adds an Udinus River Crawler to the board. Is he actually getting back a card from that? Oh, the Nixborn Wolf.
Yep.
Nice.
That traded for Sedge Scorpion very early on.
Yeah. And another the Ferris Band Trumper there. So Jeremy currently has like 4 lethal creatures, one of which has Intimidate. Robert only has 2 blockers. Might be difficult, but I think Robert still has 1 trick up his sleeve.
Maybe a Sudden Storm. Sudden Storm to survive. This is something that the blue-green deck is very good at, racing with a single creature, and then you use the Sudden Storm to buy yourself exactly the amount of time that you need. However, Robert was not able to attack here this turn, so it's quite unlikely that the Sudden Storm is going to be sufficient. Let's see. Yeah, we do see a tapping down of Ferris Band Trumper simply because it's the largest creature. It does mean that it's going to grow into a 4-4 at some point. However, Robert's problem is the evasion on Marsh Mist Titan given by Cavern Lampad, and the fact that all of his opponent's creatures are lethal. It doesn't really matter how large they are. And now it's 6 lethal creatures.
Robert did keep his card on top from the Scry effect on Sun and Storm, but can it get him out of this situation? Yeah, he needs a way to deal with, well, all of those creatures. What could this mean?
He actually has Prophet of Krufix. He left Prophet of Krufix on top, which is quite powerful. And Jeremy is going to go for a block here.
Yeah, could Robert threaten lethal here somehow? Maybe with like double aspect of Hydra or something crazy?
This is 5, 8. Yeah, Jeremy Dezani would be on 9 if he took it, so I don't think there was much to risk here. However, a blocking is also a fine play, especially given that Jeremy has a Plains in play to activate Odunus River Trawler. Now, the big question here is, do you just attack with all your 2/2s because they threaten lethal? Robert Jurkovic has a card in hand and he could flash in any creature that he has. However, from the way this game has been going, wouldn't have Robert been casting a creature. The turn he cast the Sunstorm, he had a couple of mana left. On the other hand, a creature at that point wouldn't have won in the game. Jeremy decides that Robert doesn't have a creature. He's correct in that, and we are moving to game 3.
And in the meantime, we're doing a bit of a game of musical chairs here. Marijn Leibart is taking over for me, as these players are shuffling up for their third game.
Now that was a very short break indeed, as I am back in the booth together with Simon Gertsen. We're going to analyze game 3, and it's going to be a very close one. These players both have been showing a lot of consistency, and they've been making very good plays.
Yeah, I've heard people say that Jeremy's deck doesn't look amazing, but the fact that you are playing, let's say, a Fellhide Brawler doesn't mean that a deck is bad in this format. It's much more about synergy, and this game showed that Jeremy Dezani's deck can just do as powerful things as that of Robert Jurkovic. Overall, Robert's deck is a bit better, but it's also the cuter deck, so it might just have all these tricks but no creatures to use it with. And if you don't draw your Prophet of Krufix, if you maybe don't draw some of your late game cards, then the more consistent deck of Jeremy Dezani might just pull ahead. Just think of game 1, but instead of a Retraction Helix, Robert is holding a land, then the Keepsake Gorgon just dominates the game.
Yes, certainly is, and Jeremy Dezani does have quite a powerful cards of his own. As you mentioned, the Keepsake Gorgon is of course a very good card. In the meantime, we do have a second semi-final going on. That match is Aniol Alcaraz up against Alexa Telarov. These players are currently in game 3. I actually got to take a look at game 2. Aniol Alcaraz managed to stabilize on 3 life. He finally found an Archon, so he had a 4/4 double first striking creature, but his opponent found a Fanatic of Mogis, and he also had a what I believe to be a Wild Celebrant. So that one together with the Fanatic of Mogis was 3 devotion, 3 damage to Aniol Alcaraz. So these players are now in game 3.
Quite interesting. Let's see if somebody can stop Aniol Alcaraz with his white-blue deck. The Perforos God of the Forge did help out Alexa earlier, so it certainly has the power to do so. You just cannot fall behind against the blue-white heroic archetype.
No, but Alexa does have some tricks. As I mentioned, the Wild Celebrant is actually a very good card against the Spear of Heliod, as it destroys it. So that's a good trick for him. Now the second feature match that is going on, and we are looking at this point, is Jeremy Dezani against Robert Jurkovic. They are still sideboarding. Now, who's your favorite? You've seen both matches. I have seen only one.
I was rooting for Jeremy Dezani. I think he has had tremendous results on the GP circuit, especially here in Europe. This is an amazing feat, just to rattle off these top 8s. We both know how difficult that is, especially given how many players there regularly are at these events. However, Robert Jurkovic has a sweet deck, and he is on the play for the deciding game. I think being on the play gives you quite a lot of percentage points when it comes to this format.
It certainly does. Whew. One more match in both the semifinals, and we will know what the final is going to be. Is it going to be Jeremy Dezani up against Alexa Telarov? Is it going to be Robert Jurkovic up against Aniol Alcaraz? Everything is possible.
I have to root for the green deck, I think.
You have to root for the green deck in this matchup? Okay. I'm going to root for the blue deck.
Okay.
Okay.
Then I'll take Dezani.
So I'm going to take Robert Jurkovic, you're going to take Jeremy Dezani. Who do you guys think in the chat is the favorite? Is it Jeremy Dezani from France, or is it Robert Jurkovic from Slovakia? Tell us in the chat what you think. Let's see who's everyone's favorite is.
Jeremy is a Proto winner after all.
Yeah, but Robert Jurkovic, he's been around for forever. There we go. Forest for Robert Jurkovic, Swamp for Jeremy Dezani. Now, there we go. Another island for Robert Jurkovic. No turn 2 play. Jeremy Dezani does seem to have a turn 2 play, or maybe just playing a Swamp to possibly cast that Pharika's Cure if he has it.
Pharika's Cure effectively won Jeremy the game last game when Robert Jurkovic went for quite the greedy play, trying to ambush Jeremy's attacker with Agent of Horizons casting Feral Invocation, but that got blown out by Pharika's Cure. There aren't many instances to punish you for that, but that was definitely one of them.
And it seems like the chat is all in favor of Robert Jurkovic actually. I don't see a lot of Dezani running around, so go Robert Jurkovic. Everyone's on my side. I'm sorry, Simon.
Let's see if Jeremy has forests in his hand. Is he holding them back to confuse his opponent? Yes, he has at least one of them. So no color screw in this important game. Now, the Nixborn Triton doesn't look too threatening here, facing off against a Fellhead Minotaur. And now Ferris Bandtrumper is facing off against Erebos' Emissary. Now, Erebos' Emissary potentially a 5-5, 7-7, whatever you want.
Yeah, certainly, he is holding a lot of cards, Jeremy Dezani, since he did not play anything on turn 1 and 2. So Robert is indeed a team world champion, as you guys tell us in the chat. Now, I've seen Robert Jurkovic, he's holding Crypsis, so maybe he's going to attack with the Ferris Bandtrumper. There we go, he is indeed attacking with the Ferris Bandtrumper. Is Jeremy Dezani gonna risk his Erebos' Emissary? Is he gonna discard a creature?
It's also interesting. Blocking with just the Emissary, when you could also block with both, but then you are risking also bounce spells, whereas if you only block with one creature, bounce is not a problem. And Robert is just letting this damage resolve. He does have a draw that gives him a lot of lands, so he only really has a single trick and might want to use the excess mana that he has to activate Agent of Horizons. Now, Adunis River Trawler getting back Erebos' Emissary is a huge play.
Yeah, it certainly is. That's a lot of value right there. And Jeremy Dezani actually holding a second copy of Adunis River Trawler, so that one is might come back yet again. But now Robert Jurkovic gets in the first damage of the final game in this semi-finals. Agent of Horizons attacks Jeremy down to 17. Now, I don't think Jeremy is too afraid really. He's also holding what seems to be a time to feed, just draws a Marsh Mist Titan. So it seems like he is on the way to a final here. His deck might not be very good, but it has a lot of synergy. And these Adunis River Trawler, they've been doing very great work.
We've talked about the green-black graveyard deck, and Jeremy isn't even trying to fill up his graveyard that excessively, but being able to trade his early bestow creatures, get them back, bestow them, that's more than a 2-for-1. That's basically exactly what you want to be doing throughout the course of the game. Have early drops, get them back, bestow a creature, and then use them twice effectively.
And Robert Jurkovic did draw a Prophet of Krufix now, but the 2-3 is not going to be of much help, I'm afraid, since he does not have any way to abuse his mana. There we go, he's gonna play it anyway. I might as well put it on the board. But Robert Jurkovic is in a bad shape here. Jeremy Dezani even has the Farika's Cure to handle that Agent of Horizons.
Yeah. I'm sure that Robert regrets casting that Nixborn Triton now. It would have been suited much better as an enchantment, but at that point he didn't know how his draw would develop, and so much lands and not much action means that even Prophet of Krufix will not win this game on its own.
And Jeremy Dezani draws his 6th land, certainly holding a bunch of cards thanks to that Adunis River Trawler, certainly holding the Erebos' Emissary, seems to be holding also a time to feed. Is he going to use the opportunity now that Robert Jurkovic only has 2 cards in hand to fire that one off?
But what line do you go for here? This is the real problem. If you do something proactive here that interacts with your opponent's creatures, for example, time defeat, then you are just running into all the tricks in the format. So on the other hand, your opponent is basically now playing a flash game thanks to Prophet of Krufix. Trying to take that one out with the time defeat means that things are on on a fairer level again.
Yeah, he does indeed go for time to feed on the Prophet of Krufix, Marsh Mist Titan, but Crypsis is gonna save the Prophet of Krufix since time to feed says fight. The Marsh Mist Titan would deal damage, and that protection from creatures does prevent the Prophet of Krufix from dying. Of course, Farika's Cure can still take care of Agent of Horizons, and I wouldn't be too surprised if that is what's gonna happen this time around.
An interesting fact about Prophet of Krufix is that you can flash in your bestow creatures as auras as well. So any kind of removal spell is just risking for example, a flash Nimbus Naiad or something like that. But here, Jeremy Dezani is can be quite sure that Robert Djerkovic is not holding something like that. He would have responded to time defeat with a bestow creature most likely, and drawing a bit too many lands here. Also, the value of the river trawler being quite apparent here. Do you know what's interesting? Jeremy Dezani has played 3-color decks consistently throughout the weekend. He was playing black-green splashing for Stormbreath Dragon and red 3-drops on day 1 in sealed. But he has also been willing to splash colors in his draft decks. Here we see him run some white sources for Orduna's River Trawler, and there's even a white spell in his hand. So he's really approaching this format as a lot of people think it should be approached. We know that Frank Harrison is basically telling us, play 2-color, everything else is crazy. Is he crazy, or is this maybe...
He's a genius. He's not crazy, he's a genius, sir. He's got how many pro points? 59? Now, you can't say he's crazy if he's got 59. He certainly knows what's happening, and he must have played the format a lot. He's been testing together with Rafael Levy, with Melissa Del Toro for the Pro Tour, so he certainly knows how to approach this format. And he does draw the planes now, so he can start using the white card in his hand. It's actually a Revoke Existence, which gets rid of the Nyxborn Triton. I'm assuming he sideboarded that one, because I don't think he's going to main deck a splashed Revoke Existence.
He's actually holding another Orduna's River Trawler. The late game power of this deck, what just looks like a 3-mana 2/2 is pretty insane. And of course, this is helped by Robert Djerkovic's draw here. Prophet of Kruhix alone, pretty sad story.
Yeah, Robert Jurkovic in all kinds of trouble. Jeremy Dezani not even afraid of a flash creature here, just attacks with everything. Robert goes down to 2 life. We're about to see a handshake. Robert, there we see it. Jeremy Dezani, our first finalist actually. The other match is still going, but Jeremy Dezani, first player on top of the top 25 pro rankings, yet again in another final. Wow.
Incredible.
Amazing. We can stop now. I believe we are going to go to our other semifinals, because that one is still going on. Yeah, there we have it. Alexa Telarov on the left up against Anjol Alcaraz on the right. Now, seems like Anjol Alcaraz has assembled himself quite a big Wingsteed rider there.
Six-ten Wingsteed rider, attacking in the air. What is on the other side of the table? A 1/1 Hopeful Eidolon? No, a concession!
Wow, we know our second finalist, Anjol Alcaraz from Spain, will be playing against Jeremy Dezani. His white deck is as powerful as we thought. He's been just winning all out. He did slip a game in this match.
Both matches he lost.
Yeah, but it seems like he's not looking back in the third game. Look at him, he's so happy to be in the final. There we go. So this is going to be an amazing final. Anjol Alcaraz, kind of the unknown player. He is a former national champion, so he certainly knows how to play Magic cards against Jeremy Dezani, who's basically like the one that's winning all. Do we have a name for that? The one winning all general or something? No, that's not gonna work out. You were looking very weird there. So let's move around, as Frank Carson is gonna join us in the booth, since we do have a finals to play, and it's gonna be an amazing